So welcome to our session this evening on team coaching for high value results. We're here with our instructor, Lori Cozart, my counterpart, Beatrice Aguilera, and myself. I'm off camera today, sorry, I'm a little sick, but we are here to answer questions. So here's just hopefully just to hit all the high points right away, right off the bat. This is a cohort program. You go together in a small group of people that you work with consistently over about 10 weeks, which really fosters the learning that you do not only in the program, but between each other. Anyone who's done a cohort program, you know the benefits of that. It's done over Zoom via live sessions. So it's accessible to anybody across the country, but you're still getting that face-to-face time with our experts and your classmates, so that experiential component is still very heavily there. It's not just watching some recorded lectures and maybe taking a test or something, nothing like that. Our sessions are going to be Tuesday evenings after work, Pacific time. So sorry for folks who are on the East Coast, that's going to be a little bit late, but we have had people on the East Coast do our program, so totally up to you. And then some Saturdays, selected Saturdays across the 3 months. We recognize that those are important to you, and so we don't do it every Saturday, but it does help for some intense experiential learning to have that big block of time available. And our cost is $49.95. If you've been looking at the program for a little while, you notice that's come down from our original price. We've tweaked a couple of things as the landscape has evolved. So and then you get to luck out because that has decreased our needs for the cost and brought it down. So as I mentioned, my name is Heather Ogle. I'm the program manager who would help you through the program with any questions you have on the administrative sides of things. And then we have Lori Cozart, who is our program creator and instructor, who has years and years of experience in not only just the general coaching landscape, but the executive coaching and team coaching landscape specifically. So before we go any further, that's us. And then we'd like to get to know a little bit about you. We're going to launch a poll that has a couple questions on there. And if you don't mind just popping an answer in there, we really just want to know a little bit about your background so that we make sure to hit all the points that are important to you. So have you taken a class with CPE before, or would this be your first time doing this style of learning, perhaps through a university extension style program? We also get a fair number of people who have taken our other coaching courses who are interested in this program. And so we see some folks like that. But we also have managers who just want the skills as they work on their leadership qualities to be able to use these fundamentals in their work. And then that second question you'll see is just getting a little bit more information on what you'd like to do with the skills that you could learn from team coaching. So let's take a look. It looks like we have mostly everybody this would be your first time doing a class with us, so welcome. We are really excited about all of our courses, but in particular, I enjoy the coaching style programs. There's a lot of creativity involved in them. And then what brings you today? It looks like we have sort of a 50-50. We have folks eager to learn the skills, and then people interested in the new program and some of the techniques that you could use at work. So perfect. We'll keep all of this info in mind as we move forward. Thank you. All right, and I'd like to take a second now to introduce our program and instructor, Lori Cozart. You can see she's an MCC, MBA, MC, NLP. So, and that's just to name a few of the letters that come after her name. As I mentioned, she has a lot of experience in this space. And so welcome, Lori. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about your background and what brings you to this particular program?
Yeah, thank you, Heather. And Heather, thank you for being here tonight with all of us, for rallying on through. This slide may sound impressive, but I don't know. It's not about impressive. It's more about experience. I would want to know that the person who's coming to share their experience in this type of program has the experience to be there. And I think what's most important is to understand that I have worked since I was 14 and worked my way up from the bottom to the very top. I've been in staff level positions, in supervisory positions, in management positions, and in executive leadership positions, and in C-suite positions. And so from each level, I have really a 360 viewpoint of systems and how they work. And I bring that into how we work within this program. And I think the importance behind that is being able to understand from a perspective of what's really involved in each level of those teams. And how can I, as a coach, work most effectively with them to create really interesting and important change, and more importantly, getting the results that they're looking for. So that's what I bring to the table, and I'm super excited to be able to share not just that experience, but also the experience that I've had working as a team coach in real time. And so I work with many teams at the same time as we're going through the program. And so I'm going to bring in those real life experiences to be able to share with the participants and the students around what is real life when it comes to coaching teams, and how do we approach each one of those real life examples as we work through our time together.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori. We're very lucky to have Lori with us. She does a lot of work with continuing professional education. So we're just going to go ahead and move forward and talk a little bit about what do we mean when we talk about team coaching. It's becoming a more and more consistent name in the field all the time, but it is sort of the forefront of this style of not only just working with teams, but managing teams, and then ultimately coaching the team, if that's something you're interested in pursuing as a career. So we'll talk a little bit about what coaching is, and I want to invite you, if you have questions, please throw those in the Q&A box, or the chat is fine, and we'll keep track of those as we go, and make sure that we get all of those answered. So, all right, let's keep going. So, since my voice is a little bit going today, I'm going to turn this over to Lori, and she's going to walk us through the next couple slides and really tell us what do we mean here at CPE when we're talking about team coaching. How is it different from coaching a person, and how is it involved in sort of the larger organizational scheme? So Lori, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Heather. When we talk about team coaching, I'm going to share two different definitions. The first definition that you see is how the ICF defines personal coaching. And I've noticed that there's a couple of folks in the audience who actually have their accreditation or their credential through the ICF. And the ICF is the International Coaching Federation, which there's a little bit of a typo there. It's actually the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. And they define coaching as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. It's the same as we lean into team coaching, but the context becomes different. So team coaching really addresses that context of the client as the team. So the team, how do we treat them as a single entity that's comprised of multiple stakeholders? And so it's a really important aspect of team coaching to understand that the client is the team, not a specific individual on the team, such as the team leader, but the team as a whole. And it really does impact the dynamic of how we as coaches work with that team, because we have to then be able to notice the team dynamics, to notice when things are going awry. And these are some of the things that we're going to talk about in this program to be able to heighten our awareness as coaches so that we're working with that single entity to bring them together towards shared results. So if you want to just move the slide forward, Heather. There are some things that, I've noticed that some of us are already coaches. Some of us may have, not a lean toward coaching, but maybe more of a facilitation approach. This program is really beneficial for any type of leader who's interested in working with teams to create not just higher performance, but higher levels of interaction and even really promoting psychological safety and diversity. So when team coaching, we're going to talk about working with the team as the client. We're going to talk about systems thinking and how do we understand organizational dynamics. How do we look at long-term view and hold that with patience, knowing that there are incremental achievements that happen to get us to that long-term goal? How do we become more adaptable and have more comfort with ambiguity? So important in today's ever-changing environment. We're changing more rapidly than ever before from each level of each organization. How do we manage conflict? How do we set boundaries? And of course, we're going to look at emotional intelligence. And in that same vein, we bring into the context really 5 principles that I have found over my experience of working with teams that are super important as we move into team coaching. And those 5 principles are, again, treating the team as a single entity, creating psychological safety. We want to make sure that we have minds that are open, brains that are open for creativity and innovation. And before a team can move forward into doing any of that, we need to have psychological safety where people feel that trust-based vulnerability, where they can depend upon each other to have their backs instead of sort of covering their backs, if you know what I mean. The third principle is capitalizing on diversity. How do we really encourage every team member to bring forth their brilliance and add to the way that the team performs? And again, psychological safety is important in being able to be who you are as an individual and bring your own self and your authentic self into the team, because each one of those team elements, each person as they are, creates such a beautiful fabric of really creating, again, high-level results. Then we introduce a rational problem-solving tool that'll help teams work through problems using rationality, using their logical thinking that sort of can dampen some of the things that put people into a fight or flight response or ego response, because we're looking at things because we're already feeling safe, we're already feeling that we're there and an important part of the team that belongs. And so now we can use this rational problem-solving process to really work through some of the team dynamics or the team issues or challenges that will move us forward. And then the 5th principle is all about how do I manage resistance? And from a team coaching perspective, it's not just managing resistance in the team, but it's also how do I manage resistance in myself? Because oftentimes there is a parallel process that occurs between a team coach and the team, where if I am feeling resistant in any way as a team coach, that's going to show up in some aspect in the team that I'm coaching. So there's a parallel process around principle number 5 is managing the resistance in myself and managing the resistance in the team. And I think that's really what gives this program punch, is focusing on those 5 principles in a very methodical approach that gives new coaches or new team coaches from any background the opportunity to approach a team coaching engagement and know exactly what to do because they have a blueprint or a roadmap to be able to follow. That adds a lot of confidence, and not just competence, but confidence to a team's coach, ability to be able to talk about team coaching and implement it, whether they are using it as an opportunity to grow their own business or coming from inside an organization to help build the team inside an organization and the organizational culture as well. So you can work from outside or inside.
Thank you, Lori. That's really, I think, a great description of the program in a nutshell. We have this slide where we just mention, that team coaching is sort of different from, but also encompassing these other things that people might recognize. Would you like to say anything about this slide here?
You bet. And I think you sort of said it perfectly. It encompasses the ability to build teams, to train, to consult, to mentor, and to facilitate. A team coach is going to use all of those modalities and also look at how do they really partner with the team, just as we do in regular coaching. It's all about partnership. What you'll notice is that team coaching is typically longer in terms of months. Typically, they are 12 to 18 months, depending on the complexity and the dynamics of the team. The process is about the team and the coach partnering to make sure that they're experiencing their own learning journey. And I mean the team, what are they trying to accomplish? And then, of course, the area of growth is what goals need to be achieved. But more importantly, how does the team sustain what they've learned and what they've achieved? And then, of course, the team dynamics and conflict resolution becomes an integral part of what a team coach does. It also, as we move into that sort of expert and who owns the results, that is the team. It's not the team coach, because remember, we're there to facilitate their learning as a group and their success and achievements as a group. So that belongs to the team, not to the team coach.
Excellent, thank you. And so we just wanted to take 1 second and identify how team coaching sits within that systems perspective, and what that brings that people might not think about at first.
Sure. You know, what comes up for me here is every team works within a system. And as we're helping coach that team, we want to be able to identify where are they at in the system, what stakeholders are also going to be engaged or need to be aware of their successes and challenges, and how far will the system allow them to go. And what I mean by that is, if we set prolific goals that are outside the systemic ability of the organization to be able to help with either resources or even support, then we may be setting lofty goals that might get us nowhere. So we really have to be able to look at the overarching system of what the team sits in order to be able to coach most effectively. And one of the benefits of being able to do that is allowing the individuals to not only notice how the team is working, but what impact how that team is working has on the system itself. You know, we often say as leaders that leaders are here to remove roadblocks, not become them. It's the same thing for teams. Teams are here to move the organization forward, not to be a roadblock in that flow that moves the organization forward. Every team and every team member is a cog in that sort of systemic wheel. And if a team sort of mucks up the system, so to speak, the organization doesn't move as fluidly. So if we've got a lot of team conflict, if we've got team dynamics that don't support reaching KPIs or reaching achievement or reaching goals, we need to work through those issues to be able to move the team forward. Otherwise, it gums up the system for the rest of the organization. And I think oftentimes teams lose sight of the fact that they have a specific role to play in moving the organization forward. And that's really part of systemic team coaching, being able to identify where we sit in the system, why it's important that our roles fit the system that we're sitting in, and how we can best achieve the team dynamics that are necessary to move the team and the organization forward.
Fantastic, thank you. And that really is, I would imagine, one of the reasons that team coaching is becoming more and more popular. It's a great sell for an organization. You know, you want your organization to do well, let me get in and pick apart some of those teams and see what's going on.
And there's so much complexity right now, right? I mean, we lead very complex lives. We have very complex relationships. All of that flows into how we work together. We're virtual, we're remote. There's a lot of other aspects that are coming into play. And so how do we make those things happen more fluidly for the teams that we work with? And this particular slide, Heather, is really about, we talk a lot about agreements in coaching. And for those of you who are coaches, you'll understand this. And for those of you who aren't, you'll understand this probably even just as well. But there are agreements that we make. Oftentimes, though, there are subs to those agreements that we make, and we call this psychological agreements. And so The agreements may be very, very clear. So for example, you work 40 hours a week-ish, and here's what you get paid. Seems very straightforward. What happens though is we start creating sub-agreements psychologically under each one of those. And though it's those sub-agreements that you'll see here, right? What that really means is time and hours, but to the person being paid, it's more about security. So we talk a lot about psychological agreements, and the reason behind it is it's one of the things that I find, and research tells us, really impacts the team being able to work together, those team dynamics, the expectations that I have for others. And so we clear up any kind of psychological agreements and bring everything out onto the table through the exercises that we're going to be using, through how we teach, through how we coach the team as that single entity, to put everything out on the table so it's abundantly clear exactly what those expectations are. And then are we constantly testing our own assumptions as well as the assumptions and intentions of others? And so Heather, if you want to just move forward to the next slide, that sort of gives us an indicator here, which I think is kind of funny. If any of you have ever watched The Big Bang Theory, you'll know that Sheldon Cooper has an agreement for everything. And if you really think about how important agreements are, when I first saw this, I sort of thought, well, that's going a little bit too far. But the more I got into coaching teams and the more I thought about it, the more clarity we have on what is expected of us, the better we are at just being able to put those things aside and keep moving forward and reach into those goals and the achievements that we're looking for. So for example, here Sheldon has even outlined what happens under boo-boos and ouchies, right? What is the expectation of when somebody gets a boo-boo or an ouchie? How is that going to be handled? And this is a really important part about what we talk about in team coaching, is how do we avoid some of those conflicts that may arise by having clean, clear communication and clean and clear agreements.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to shift forward a little bit and talk about what it's like in the program itself. How does it work? What can you expect? And as we move forward, we're going to throw up another poll, if you don't mind taking a look at that. You've heard a little bit about what team coaching is. And so as we move forward, will be interesting to know, are you thinking about being an internal team coach, or do you want to get out there and sort of hang a shingle and try and go and consult, or do you just need the skills to work within your organization perhaps? So we'll just give it just a quick second here and see what you guys have to say.
Heather, while we're waiting for them to sort of take the poll, could I add something?
Yeah, please.
This program also helps us become better leaders. There's just no doubt about it. You'll learn things in this program that will move your career forward regardless of how you choose to use it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's well said. Enough said. Enough said. I tried to expand on that and I can't do it. And then it looks like for our poll, you guys are across the gamut. We have folks looking to be external coaches for hire, internal in your organization, internal elsewhere, and then just adding this to your toolkit as a professional coach, which is a fantastic thing to do. It opens a lot more opportunities. So that is good to keep in mind. Thank you for that. So this is a look at the schedule and kind of the times that you can expect to be having your interactive sessions and the walkthrough through the whole program. It's broken down into different modules, and throughout this you're going to not only learn tools to use and principles and theory, you're also going to be practicing with scenarios, as well as potentially a live team as well we have lined up. So you're going to get an incredible amount of actual experience and practice through these live sessions.
Which is
Lori,
so
do you have anything to
important.
say there? Yeah.
Yeah, just really so important. You'll have a team that you'll have the opportunity to work with as you work through each one of these modules, and you'll have plenty of real-time feedback as well as practice. So again, anybody who's coming through the program leaves with a high level of competence, which of course feeds into that high level of confidence.
Absolutely. And we have a great question from Adam. Is there a certifying body for like the ICF for team coaching, that sort of thing? And perfect question. And the answer is perhaps eventually. So right now, the ICF does not have a certification associated with team coaching. However, they do have team coaching core competencies. So specific competencies to team coaching that Lori does walk you through in the program. So this is originally ICF was going to be coming out with these credentials, and that's what we planned for, but then they've shaken some stuff up and we're being flexible to what's happening. So what we do right now, what we can get you right now, is that we are following the ICF competencies, so that the idea is if they do come out with that team credential, we can help you slide right into that. We'll have covered a lot of the requirements for that. We have a digital badge, which you can see there, which is becoming more and more popular these days. It shows to employers and clients, anyone who's looking you up online, right up front that you are credentialed or certified in team coaching, and that certification is from a reputable university, UC Davis. So these rather than a certificate hanging on your wall, the digital badge is becoming very, very popular in today's just interactive job market and promoting yourself. You do have your UC Davis certificate that you'll receive. Continuing education units, general continuing. So if you have professional development goals and things like that, this will absolutely count towards those. And then we are working with ICF to get, since there's no credential, to get CCEUs. So if you are a coach looking for continuing coaching education, we're just waiting to hear back how many hours. We're hoping for the maximum of 40 hours of CCEUs. So fingers crossed on that, and they should be letting us know anytime now. So we are working with that process as well. So great questions. Keep those coming. So basically the landscape is we are ahead of the schedule, trying to be the first ones out there with those team credentials when they arrive. If you have any questions about applying, you can reach the application from our website here. You can also, Beatrice can go ahead, if you can copy paste our contact information for our enrollment coach to the chat, that will be great. Her name is Christy Craig. She is fabulous. She will work with you through any questions you have about applying or enrolling or discounts, anything like that. These are the application questions. So it's nothing, we're not hiding anything, and it's really not about previous certifications or anything like that. We're just looking for people who are going to be good cohort members and really active participants in this small cohort program. And it's free to apply, so don't feel any risk there. We cover the cost of the application, and then once accepted, we work with you on the tuition. So these are the dates that we're looking at. The actual class itself is going to start September 20th. So deadline to be paid up and enroll is going to be the day before. And then we are taking applications up through the 13th. If we're not full just yet, we'll continue to do rolling applications. But I do encourage you to apply soon, because this is sort of our flood of application time a few weeks out from the program. And anything further, any questions out there? I don't see any questions in the Q&A or anything in the chat just yet, but we'll wait a second for that. And then Lori, any parting remarks?
Sure. Just rest assured that it's going to be a very highly interactive program that you're going to walk away with some real life skills to be able to apply immediately. And you're going to get ongoing support and feedback, both from me as an instructor, and then of course, any other follow-up that you need. Just rest assured that I always say, once an instructor, always an instructor. So always available even after the program to be able to follow up and help support the students in applying what they've learned in coaching their teams in real time.
Thank you so much, Lori. We have a couple questions that did just come in. Are we looking at sessions in 23? We do continue to look at doing sessions, and things adapt. So keep your eyes out for things like that as we move into the next year. And then we have another question about the experiential learning versus, how academic versus do you need to coach a group in the program? So very experiential, right, Lori? I would say.
Very experiential. Be ready to not just coach within the cohort, but then of course we're going to be aligning you with teams that you'll be working with in between to apply those skills in real time.
Right. So not only experiential in the class, but also outside of the class, getting practice coaching a group. And this program is run by UC Davis, but it doesn't come with academic units. So if that's something you're looking for, our other coaching program does come with academic units. And so we can always have Christy talk with you about that as well. More about coaching groups, outside groups. So this is a new opportunity we have. But Lori, in an ideal situation, what would you see that experience looking like?
Sure. In the ideal situation, what we were hoping for is that each new coach, right, each coach in the program would have the opportunity to work with an outside team. And we have found an organization that has multiple offices around the area that is open to our students actually coaching their teams. So as they learn the skills to be able to do around team coaching, they'll immediately be able to go work with the team if they choose. This is not mandatory, but if they choose, they'll have the opportunity to actually work with an external team where they can try their new skills in a very safe sort of environment to be able to apply that immediately. Now, they also have the opportunity, say, to work with their own team if they choose to. But I think the important piece of it is that you're getting that, not just the book learning around it, right? Not just the academics around it, but the actual opportunity to apply what you've learned, to see what's challenging, to see what works. And you get that feedback in real time.
Fantastic. Thank you. And as we've said, please don't hesitate to reach out, schedule with Christy or myself or Lori. We would all be more than happy to talk with you in any of your special particular circumstances. But hopefully you have learned a great deal from our session this afternoon. And if we have no further questions, let's see. Yes, this will be the third time running this program.
Third cohort.
Good question. But it is on the newer side of things, so we continue to improve and take feedback as we go. And let's see, I'll just give it just a second. They say you've got to give extra time for introverts to think. And as an introvert, I think that's probably a good idea. Okay. Please feel free to reach out to us. You will receive this recording with all of our contact information in an automatic email 24 hours from now. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we can talk specifically about any of your current situations. Thanks so much for being with us here this afternoon, and hopefully we see you in the future in class and can help you out with any of your future leadership and coaching goals. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Heather and Beatrice.
Absolutely. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.